Jaya Jaya Shiva Shambho Jaya Jaya Shiva Shambho Jaya Jaya Shiva Shambho Jaya Jaya Shiva Shambho Mahadeva Shambho Mahadeva Shambho Mahadeva Shambho Mahadeva Shambho Jaya Jaya Shiva Shambho Jaya Jaya Shiva Shambho Jaya Jaya Shiva Shambho Jaya Jaya Shiva Shambho Mahadeva Shambho Mahadeva Shambho Mahadeva Shambho Mahadeva Shambho Jaya Jaya Shiva Shambho Jaya Jaya Shiva Shambho Jaya Jaya Shiva Shambho Jaya Jaya Shiva Shambho Mahadeva Shambho Mahadeva Shambho Mahadeva Shambho Mahadeva Shambho Jaya 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 Shiva Shambho Jaya Jaya Shiva Shambho Jaya Jaya Shiva Shambho Jaya Jaya Shiva Shambho Mahadeva Shambho Mahadeva Shambho Mahadeva Shambho Mahadeva Shambho Jaya Jaya Shiva Shambho Jaya Jaya Shiva Shambho Jaya Jaya Shiva Shambho Jaya 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 Shiva Shambho Mahadeva Shambho Mahadeva Shambho Mahadeva Shambho Mahadeva Shambho Jaya Jaya Shiva Shambho Jaya Jaya Shiva Shambho
Extend everybody like we do. Everybody's here. I like what the person just said. She doesn't want to be seen. And for the past year, we've been working with Zoom and to replace the old system. And I really love it because I can see everybody. And it's actually relational. So if you want to come on Zoom, you have to be seen. I'm quite serious. When you see all these blanks there, I find it really boring. And it's hard to have the field, right? There's a relational frame. So if you come on Zoom, you have to show up and become visible, right? The whole theme is becoming the invisible becoming visible. Fair enough? That's how we're going to do it. If you want to come on Zoom, be visible. Because one of the things we've discovered, right, we can work with each other on Zoom, huh? And it's as valid and as viable as sitting in the room. At least that's been my experience, right? So everyone should be seen, okay? And again, if people who have not sent me just a little note on what's been happening for you, not in your personal life, and what else is going on. But just what have you gotten, if anything, out of this seminar, right? Because we can all just get stuck in habits, right? Like coming to the same seminar, nice people. So let's focus in again. We've been focusing, last week we've been focusing the past 6 weeks on this bringing forth the archetypal dimension, huh? If you read people's lives like Swami Muktananda, or if you read Dorjen Blinkpa, and there's two different traditions we use a lot, Kazmir Shaivism, Dzogchen, the entire text of their autobiographies in the archetypical realm, because the archetypical realm is completely present. The archetypical realm is not transcendental, it's not out there, it's right here, if we can open it and see it, right? The archetypical realm also is not simply the apparitional realm of seeing deities. Some people have talents in this room who actually see the deities, and they they have these not visions, but they have these apparitions. It's not imagination. They're actually seeing the phenomena manifest, right? But the Tantra is not simply the apparitional realm, as some would think. It is also the elementals, as you've been formulating. So I've been hearing people working here, and so their language becomes very elemental, becomes like water, fire, energy, and it's a process of embodying that dimension. This is, in the whole issue, you'll see this around, especially around the archetypes, is transcendental otherness. You pray to, you beg, and things like that for stuff. And it's really valid and useful, but actually it's relatively incomplete. It's much more powerful, as the great yogis, to embody this yourself. Don't pass the buck, and embody these dimensions ourselves. So it's really eminence. It's functions of incarnational phenomena. Raise your hands if this is making sense to you. So, and then also this stuff, when we work with awareness, it happens naturally in therapy as we become more inhabiting the field, and that felt sense of the field, then that becomes part of the relational experience with people who are working with us. And truly that does become the true intersubjective state. You hear the word intersubjective as just another word for interpersonal, but the intersubjective state is an inside to inside experience, right? And then that opens up more power. And it opens up more potential for transformation. There's more space, there's more potential space. Or in statistic language, there's more degrees of freedom, right? So we're going to, good, see. What's her daughter's name? Olivia. Great. Hi, Laura. And Laura's here too. Oh, good. You see you guys. Hi, Olivia. So we've been doing a little bit more work individually. Usually we don't do that here, but it's helpful just we do it maybe one more time, and then we'll start moving on. Anybody want to make any comments so far about it, what I've been saying? Yes, please.
What you're saying about the relationship with our clients is like
with the world itself, actually.
Anyone we're associated with, but there's a fire of inspiration that can come in when you're not trying to do anything. Of course, people bring problems of friends,
Right.
But that fire of inspiration just comes in, and then I find myself going places I didn't expect to go. That's what I find about it.
Right, because essentially, as you work on this level, from the Nirmanakaya into Sambogakaya, and it's not like you read some stuff and it's like, oh, there's Dharmakaya, nothing happens. It's sort of like dead space, which is not. And then suddenly there's this little imaginal display, which is not this or that, and it's Sambogakaya, and it's like fantasy, and Nirmanakaya is chunks of meat. But there's big dimensions between them, right? That's not really how the yogis will talk about it. It really is one. There's a continuum of manifestation. Huh?
And what ends up happening is I'm still holding the personality level because it's a relationship, but I'm holding that along with this fire of inspiration that
Yeah.
comes in.
The archetypical dimension manifests the personality and the circumstances of our personality. And, and so that's why there's more degrees of freedom at the Sambogakaya level to reorganize. And as some of these papers you guys have been reading, we've been focusing on more and more how having access to the Sambogakaya level, the archetypical level, the cosmological level in its manifestation of the elements, will have more power for liberation. Raise your hands if this is making sense, okay? If it doesn't make sense, it won't make sense. Now, let's, and I've been using somewhat the same people because sometimes it's interesting to see progression unfolding, right? So we're going to focus here again if anything I wanted to say about this. So it really is primordial awareness manifesting and as the elementalness. And elementalness becomes vortexes and energies. It becomes embodied. So a lot of this is on the embodiment of awareness. Huh? And in the embodiment of awareness, counter-indicates the primary dissociation that we have between our mind and awareness, right? The basic dissociation between mind and awareness. And through as whatever practices we're using, whatever is taking, the circumstances of our life are really is the events that bring us into embodiment or further states of disembodiment. So having said that, we're going to breathe for a moment. And I might go back to who should we go back to? Jan, how are you doing right there? Okay. Could you extend to me just a little bit? Now this is modeling, okay? We're modeling. As you extend to me, what starts to happen?
I feel my heart open even more.
So when I'm asking her to extend to me, at this level, this is metaphorical speech. Because I'm really doing an invitation to extend to the field that I am evoking in my own self right now. Right? You with me? Sometimes it's just me, and sometimes there is awareness. Can you feel me right now?
Yes.
What does that feel like as you connect to me? And I'm using me metaphorically, right?
What immediately began to happen is it became so bright in here it's hard to keep my eyes open. And also there's a feeling of intensity that I get that's like a little bit stretchy feeling, and then it tends to relax.
Okay, so again, translating that, and I know most of us all know this, but to hear it one more time. So she extends to me, I'm extending to her. Two awarenesses are better than one, and the mysterious conjunctio is formed. Huh? A companionship is formed. And, or as they say in the what's that great Dzogchen handbook, the Yeshe Lama, the inner yin meets the outer yin. Inner yin meets the outer yin. One field is formed. And that is the non-dual state. So right now, we're different, but I'm now in a non-dual state. And I look relatively normal as I do. And you look relatively normal too. That is one of the reasons why it's really great to normalize all this as much as possible, right? Because then you can be normal and duality, right? You don't necessarily have to have a little 8-point stanzas or 12-point stanzas and your hands this way or that way. Or as Namkhe Normal Great Dzogchen Master says, when asked about posture, he says it's the posture of the Himalayas, meaning there's all kind of shapes. Short, fat, thin, tall. There's no one form to being in a natural state. If you want to be in a trance state, that's something else. This is not trance. And how are you doing now?
The stretchy feeling did just kind of relax, and when that happens, there's even more spaciousness.
Yes. So the primordial awareness is space. So there's the space open. So initially there's the contact, the intensity, the light, and the space. But the light is foremost, so it becomes very bright, right? Light. So all discussions on light. So the light becomes bright, and then it starts to open, so there's more pervasiveness. Huh? And that's always things that people are working on, because to the degree that our body's contracted and locked in with the fascia, then a lot of times when that energy comes in, it becomes very awkward, painful, headaches, and other such things happen. That's why sometimes even touch helps open up the fascia. But all this is minimal. Say yes if this is making sense. Unless we practice it, nothing happens. So Jan, what's happening now, if you don't lean into me a little bit more, if you don't mind, with your heart? And I'm going to do the same thing. Because this is the heart essence tradition. But it's not necessarily a sentimental moment, huh? And Jan, what's happening for you now, huh?
What was happening just before leaning in is still going on, which is like a breathing coming up through my throat and up through my palate. And then when I extend more into you through the heart, the intensity happens again, and then the relaxation.
Right. And if you're listening to her words, there's space, there's energy, there's openness, there's light. So there's a metaphors you hear that are personal and embodiment, but ultimately there's the elementalness coming. Huh? Just like the dakinis are actually the elementalness, elemental energies. Great. So I'm going to lean into you a little bit more. And as the tantras say, bliss overcomes suffering, huh? And then, and what's happening for you now?
There is a full body whoosh, kind of. It's nectarian. It's my whole body is involved, and it began in the heart, and then it just kind of went up and down.
Yes. So the whole issue of the breath, we were talking the last couple of weeks about the breathless breath, and then you have respiration. And this respiration that's taking place, this wind, to use the Dzogchen language, the wind starts to rise up, and yet sometimes it's paired with the breath, and sometimes the breath starts to disappear, and you actually get into a state of stillness, and the respiration is rising. Huh? It's also another metaphor for the Kundalini Shakti. Huh? I'm going to pause there, and I'm now going to connect. Well, if you guys are connecting to me and the person I'm working with, then that gets even stronger, and then what we're talking about you will experience. That's the power of the being in the field. You feel, you experience what's being spoken about, right? We're mingling our minds and our awareness. And Anna, how you doing? So good to see you guys there in San Diego. And what I also like about this, and I find myself doing it more and more, is that this is non-local. It feels looks local, but it's actually non-local. And that's why it's very mysterious how this actually works. How are you doing?
Good.
Good. You look wonderful, and the child looks wonderful. Laura looks great. Would you mind extending to me again, please, if you don't mind? That's a metaphorical statement. And what are you experiencing now as we do this?
I can feel as if you're pulling me in, as though the field gets more concentrated through me.
That's a concentratedness, a focus, huh? And last week you worked, and the week before that you've worked, and you've been actually working with a lot of the language of embodiment. Is that okay? And so I'm going to focus again. We're going to open this up a little bit more from my side. And as we do that, what's happening for you now?
So, for me, being kind of focused deep inside, it feels like it's starting to go horizontally. So it's infusing my skin and coming through my skin, like light is coming into my skin and through my skin.
Yes, that's a great word, that word infusion. So she's still saying concentrated, but as the field moves to her and opening, it's like an infused state. You with me? And as that infusion takes place, what's so good about that infusion, it also infuses our mind. So as we go into awareness, that it infuses our mind and our bodies. That is really good to have that, because actually there's a vitalness in all this. There's a vital energy. It's another metaphor. It's working with vital energy, huh? That's why the Dharmakaya is alive. That's why Sambogakaya is alive. Nimanakaya is alive. It says all the anima mundi. It's life. You with me? And so that's arising. And that's why actually this is really good for our health, even if we're on the way out. I always remember, and as I've been speaking about Peter, my good friend who died, we talked about a few weeks ago, but when he was dying, went over the night before he died, and Lama Awandor had been here and had sent him energy and mantras to die in awakened awareness. And so I see him and we always, the best of friends, but we'd always arm wrestle. Some strange reason. Drink and arm wrestle, right? So he's there. And we say, okay, one more time. So this is the night before he's dying. And we arm wrestle. You with me? Now he can hardly move, but that energy was there. We were arm wrestling with the Shakti, right? And then, as you know, the next morning, as I tell this story, he goes into unconsciousness, and he's there for a long time. And then we're sitting, and then suddenly he comes into awakened awareness again. He sits up, and he always was a bit of a ham, as we know, because he used to be this. And he looks at his wife, and he smiles. He gets this exquisite Irish smile. And he looks at each of his children. He looks at us. The doctor's there, and he's meanwhile he was chanting the mantra. He woke up going and he'd practiced that for one whole year, that he would leave in a way that he could. Then he goes and then he passes into the light, huh? And you see the light arise up his body, and his son says, "This is so awesome, huh? What a gift, huh?" So with that, we'll extend again to each other. This is all ordinary people who do one thing. They practice with each other, just like we all should be practicing with each other. Sloth. Sloth, we think that effortless means sloth. It doesn't. Effortless means you're showing up, you're there, and you're watching what's manifesting. But sloth is not even showing up, right? So with that, hey Anna, here we are, good. Let's extend again. I'm blabbing a little bit this morning. And we're going to go further into the Kunyungsho. This okay? And what's happening for you now? Jeff, you have to. I'm sorry. Can you unmute yourself, Anna? Thank you.
Yeah, through you talking about your friend arm resting in the field, I had more light coming in, and it felt inside and outside. So the infusion, it felt like it was infusing me from the outside in and inside out.
The simultaneous outside-inside experience, right? It's self-arising. That's why there's the vertical dimension, self-arising, and then the horizontal dimension was taking place at the archetypal level. So interpersonally, she and I have a little connection, but the more primary connection is at the archetypical dimension right now. And what's unfolding now, Anna?
So my lower body is starting to open, and it feels like the light is changing from being very bright golden to more silvery, I guess, we use the language moonlight, so it's kind of getting clearer and more silvery.
And maybe cooler, yeah. Yes. So the body is starting to open, and that body is not simply the external body, huh? This is the lived body, right? That great word, the body, the flesh, but meaning the lived body. So we want to check this between being in the physical body to the lived body. And the lived body is the body embodying awareness. It's embodied. And what's it like to feel this embodying of the lower body open with you? And so I'm also now attuning to her lower body, right? Resonating to that dimension. What's it like as that opens for you?
So then I feel like I'm coming into my form, my body more, so I can still feel the field horizontally, but it's more like I have the sense of my form and the depth within that.
So the sphere, SPHRE, of the form starts to become more felt, right? And sometimes people have never felt that sphere that they're in. And so it's having more form, and yet at the same time, there's more depth, more psyche opening up. And then I'm translating this as a deeper level of embodiment for her. And what's that like to be experiencing this dimension, being embodied and manifested? Because both manifesting and being embodied simultaneously.
It feels like you used the word effortless, it feels like there's power in my form, but it's a being power, so it has some potential to, it doesn't feel like it wants to take action yet, but I can feel the sort of power in it.
It's very helpful for us because all these forms are simultaneously in the same moment, right? So there's flesh, Phenomenology, she's working. Then there's Sambogakaya, the archetypal, opening, and at the same time there is the felt sense of potentiality, which is a manifestation of the Dharmakaya itself. Great healers like Yen Chin would always say, I live in potentiality. He would have some techniques, but mostly it was really potentiality that he was depending on, the synchronicity of potentiality. What's it like to be touching that potentiality at this moment, prior to action?
There's no lack at all. It feels complete and alive and settled, but moving at the same time.
Again, for me, the completeness, there's no deprivation. The fundamental anxiety of deprivation is being dissolved, right? And also, throughout this entire thing, deathless awareness begins to manifest, and there's a corresponding dissolving of the fear of annihilation. Are you guys feeling that more and more as we do this? Say yes if you are. Say no if you're not. Oh. So hang out a little bit there. What's happening now?
It feels like deepening into that potential alive. Mark still plays, and I'm aware of your friend. You brought him in.
Yes, his presence is now here. So we can see the thin line between death. As the yogis say, in mind alone, it's a vast, hopeless abyss. And yet, in awareness, it's so thin. The veil is so thin, huh? And mutual support. Now I'm following you in this core. This is a co-emergent state. This is I'm not the big dog and she's the little dog, okay? It is a co-emergent state. That's truly necessary to understand that, right? And what's happening now as you're going further?
So I'm less and less aware of my kind of personality, and it feels like just more space, but I feel the unity with you in that.
Yes. As we can feel me and you and that oneness, huh? And that oneness is really the beginning of everything. That this world is oneness and separateness, huh? Heraclitus, when we go back to the pre-Socratics, the first of the Western philosophers, woke up to oneness and difference. He would say, it's absolute oneness and it's absolute difference. That is why, to foreclose one side of this paradox, forecloses the oneness of this world with primordial awareness, or the oneness with conventional truth and absolute truth. You with me? And this is where I and lots of traditions separate a bit, because I think to cut off one side of the paradox is really not useful. To cut off difference, to cut off you, or who, and me. We can dissolve into total openness, but again, there's appearance and disappearance happening always. Appearing, disappearing, appearing, disappearing. You guys follow what I'm saying? If you don't agree with it, this is a monastic frame. Both are valid, to each their own, right? One time Lama Norla said that. It's very personal, to each their own. What's it like right now for you, Anna?
So in this still expansive space, it feels like there's more of that soft, slow-moving, golden, blissful energy coming in.
Mm-hmm. Can you lean into that a little bit more with me, if you don't mind? And this is where the heart essence arises, huh? The opening, the inner heart essence. And what's happening for you now?
So it's almost like light and space joining, and this completely sensual experience of the light on a very subtle level.
Yes. Yes.
All moving, undulating.
It is completely sensual. Yes. I'm going to read a little text invoking Guru Rinpoche in honor of Lama Tarchin, whose death we set was last week, but I couldn't focus on it because as extra guests, and Baba's Shaktipat. I'd like to focus on that for a little bit today. But one of the words in this text is sensuousness. The inner body is completely sensual, huh? That's why this is not the foreclosure of touch. It is not the foreclosure of the body. It's not the foreclosure of desire. It is not the foreclosure of, it is not the use of detachment and that form of dissociativeness to gain liberation in this world. I'm giving you a lot this morning, right? But you guys follow what I mean by that, huh? What's it like for you right now, Anna?
So it is a sort of very quiet, ecstatic kind of inner experience at the same time as it feels spacious.
Mm-hmm. Are you getting stronger in your life?
Yeah.
What's it like to become really stronger in your life, like you're experiencing?
Grounding, more stable, less drama, more just, I don't know, beingness without so much fuss.
Great. So we're going to stay connected. Now, am I becoming a better person as I'm connected to her and to you guys?
Yes.
Absolutely. A better me is now showing up, right? So I'm going to read you a little bit about Padmasambhava at this moment, who's an archetype. And I have my own preferences for archetypes. Some I like, some I'm not too favorable with. I love individuation. Now, Padmasambhava is an archetype of the primordial guru. There are many archetypes of the primordial guru. So I'm going to read you a little statement about him. Okay, this is the existential understanding of Padmasambhava. So Padmasambhava is a person of great mystery and mytholization. Mytholization means fiction. There's a fictional quality about Padmasambhava. There's creativeness around him, which is the creativeness of human beings bringing forth their experience of the primordial guru and putting it into words, images, and embodiment of a body. This is back to hermeneutics. He was not from India, neither was from Tibet. He lived during the 9th century, and his name symbolized. So now we're going into the symbolic level, right? Which also is in the Sambogakaya level. Symbolize living within the world without being enslaved by its vicissitudes, without being captured by the contained mind and containing circumstances. He lived within the space of freedom and action within the wild events and times of the 9th century. He came from the area of Pakistan, where the luminous Gnostic views were alive. His thought was Gnostic, and as a Gnostic he understood that humans were beings of light, and the experiential embodiment of light was self-liberation. And he understood that knowingness, of primordial awareness, was the knowingness of direct perception, direct experience. Direct luminous perception as gnosis was for Padmasambhava the natural path of self-liberation. Self-liberation for me is a much better word than realization. Puts it more in our own hands. Self-liberation arising through self-awareness and self-recognition of what already is present within us as us. And to know who you are in essence is to become the who-ness of beings. I'm just reading that because part of self-liberation, as we embody this archetypical dimension, it liberates us from our circumstances, from being enslaved in our circumstances, without us becoming dissociative and leaving them. Say yes if you understand the difference. So the problem, the realm of translucidity. Translucidity is primordial awareness manifesting herself in the archetypical dimension, and then manifesting, bringing in our flesh. Then the translucidity, even of our experience at this moment, is self-liberation from being enslaved by circumstances, either good in circumstances or not so good. Say yes if you're understanding this. This will help free you from the Four Noble Truths, okay? There's a fourth one. It helps free you from thinking all there is impermanency, because the actual drama is dissolving and manifesting over and over again. And when you can cross into these realms, you begin to experience, not out of belief, but the validity of that experience, because you feel these presences arising in you. Say yes if you understand that. You have to believe it. You also start to see the other side of impermanence is appearing. Just like she disappeared, she's coming back, appearing. The other thing is that there is a self. And the self, if it's only located in my mind alone, is a pretty constricted view. But the self that is my own subjectivity, which is awareness manifesting in itself in me as my awareness in mind and body, that is unborn and undying. That's not known in the Four Noble Truths. And that everything is suffering. At least the commentators I read, it's all suffering. There is suffering, but there's also bliss and happiness in the midst of suffering. You guys follow what I'm saying, okay? So that particular archetype of Gautama doesn't fit for me. You with me? Padmasambhava fits for me. Padmasambhava is an archetype. As I lean into that archetype and I do those practices, and those practices are not me trying to identify with him in my mind, but evoking that dimension, just like we did with our friend, the evoking of these dimensions of awareness. That presence arises in me, and to the degree that I can embodiment, then that function of the transmission of light becomes more mine and yours. Say yes if you're understanding that.
Yes.
Does it feel clear? Now, Gautama, that over there is not Gautama. That's the healing Buddha. You with me? So there's a lot of different Buddhas people who are. Buddha is not a person. Buddha is not a person. Buddha is the symbol of primordial awareness. Buddha is not a person. This took place initially. He was a person, but then over time, Buddha became what? The Buddha mind. Say yes if you know this. Yes, please.
I was with Krishna Das on Saturday, and he told the sweet story that is exactly that, where he was talking with his guru, and this girl was going through a book he had put together that had a picture of Buddha in it. And he looks at this picture of Buddha, and he says to Krishna Das, no, it's a picture of him. And he looks at the picture of him, and he says, who is this? And Krishna Das says, well, it's you. He's going, no, it's not. And he does it again, and he says, finally, it's Buddha.
It's the Buddha, yes.
It's the Buddha. So that sense that everybody has of the Buddha is that presence.
That presence
comes through when you enter into that space.
It comes through as you enter that space, okay? Translucidity. So how are you doing right now, Patricia? Thank you, Lorette. Can you extend to me?
Yes. Well, where I've been is, again, in the back of my palate.
Yes.
I'm actually resting there. And I'm feeling simultaneously inner strength and power, but that energy has a softness and ease to it.
Yes.
Those two things.
Yes.
It's always this feeling I'm being shown this, even though it is also
Yes.
being shown what this can be. Only those two qualities.
I love that, where you're both being manifested and being shown simultaneously. And actually you're the manifester at a profound level.
And I feel this, not that I can't invoke it elsewhere too, of course, but I feel that part of the beings that are here are showing to
Yes.
student
Yes.
activity.
We'll focus on those beings right now. And gratitude. And gratitude is actually an ontological mood. So now I'm going to do an invocation. And these things we do like on Dakini Day. We've been doing Dakini Day. And I'm going to do an invocation. And this could be any tradition. It happens to be this tradition. And we like having different streams of traditions. When you can relate to different traditions, it frees you from a catechism mind. A catechism mind? A catechism mind is a believer's mind. It means you think and you make it your own. So, and this is a text from Durjam Rinpoche, the secret accomplishment of the great Guru, the heart essence of the lake-born Vajra. And most of these practices or attempts, they grow from the Nyingma early traditions that will grow more out of the shamanistic traditions, invoking traditions. Later, like Galupas, it's more identifications, more mental. Namo. And I'm doing this in light of Baba's Muktananda's our root guru in his experiencing his Shaktipat through his teacher Bhagavan Nityananda, who many people have a relationship to. And then on the other side of that Wednesday was Lama Tarchin, who's really a root teacher for me from the Dzogchen tradition, among others. Like Phenomenology would be Mahamudra tradition. In the indestructible, indestructible means unborn, undying. And so to touch that even a little bit, the fear of death starts to dissolve. Starts to dissolve. And original nature as it is. So I'm taking refuge in my own indestructible, unborn, undying nature of awareness. And in this sphere, SPHRE, of the great bindu of light. So it's like this point of light, this circle of light, this sphere of light. And sometimes the sphere is very tiny and sometimes it's just huge. And in this unchanging innate deity, because the deity is unchanging, this archetypical manifestation is unchanging, it is primordial awareness. It's unchanging. That doesn't mean it doesn't have movement. Most Dzogchen practices are movement and stillness. Most archetypical moments when you're going to be about archetypes, you have an apparition, there'll be movement and stillness. Unchanging doesn't mean there's no movement. The essence is unchanging, not the ornamental decorations of the movement. Say yes if you understand that. That freezes lots of Buddhism, the unchangingness. It just freezes things, and then you can never get to it. It seems far away and not your life. Tohu bohu means weep. I take refuge within this self-nature as it is, just as I am. Just as I am. And then I give up delusions of perfection. I give up delusions of unworthiness. Because it's just as I am. Then Nanjud Kunjang Non Selga. Opening all of the universe and sentient beings into clear light. Wow. Openings. All of the universe and all the clear sentient beings as clear light. So as embodying this, then we begin to experience more or less this world as light, Even though we have to fight and all sorts of tragic things may have to take place, we still experience everything and anything as the form of the light, which is a very empowering moment because we can feel the non-duality with both our friends and enemies as forms of light. And we can experience inside to inside what that means, right? Clarity. Say yes if that's making sense to you. So all objective appearance or Dzogchen Penma. Dzogchen, that's the name of the guru, name of Padmasambhava. So even like Muktananda would always say, wherever I go I see my guru. And I could never understand, what does that mean? Does he see this tall fat guy wherever he goes, naked? What does that mean? But the guru is the light of awareness manifesting forth. Doorways. So in the center of this perfect palace, with all its characteristics, we're the perfect palace, and the situation is the perfect palace. Often the perfect palace is in a charnel ground, by the way. So there's always, when they describe the universe, it's both a charnel ground, a burial ground, terra, hara, and at the same time it's a palace. We're holding paradox. And upon a variegated lotus, I don't quite understand what that word variegated means. Anyone know? Layered lower? Layered? Layered? Striated, okay. The lotus, the sun and the moon. Huh? The sunlight, sometimes it's so bright, so intense, it burns, right? It's fire. And the moonlight, huh? So soft, huh? Watery. Self-nature, the immortal, another name for Padmasambhava, Togaljan's. Then now they actually start describing this person. This doesn't mean you have to visualize this in your mind or think you have to look like this. These are qualities, evocative metaphors that describe the felt sense of the archetype. Most archetypical manifestations are not visual images. They're felt senses that arise as the power of awareness arises. Felt senses. You have a felt or presence. Felt sense of presence, okay? Rosy white. Rosy white. Even like sometimes the smell of the rose, right? Youthful. Beautiful. The innermost smile. Smiling lightly. So there's a smile, and yet wrathful. There's fierceness. So as you embody this, there's both kindness and there's a fierceness about you, right? Compassionate. And here compassion again also means this great capacity to extend this light into human beings, huh? Into their present, their past, and their future. And youthfully sensual, as Anna was there. So this is an embodied, and to embody all this is a highly sensuous experience. Huh? It really is eros in the most beautiful sense of that term. And there's always thanatos also at some level in this we're coming to terms with. Holding a vajra, symbol of indestructibility, a skull cup. And sometimes the skull cup is a cup filled with blood, and it's symbolizing human beings and animals. Because if you look at all of this, these are cups of blood. This whole room is blood, right? It's contained, but it's filled with blood, right? That's what you think. Then at one other level, it's nectarian states. It's the blood of life, the vital form of blood, huh? Right? Life, vitality, vitalness, the vitalness. And it's using those metaphors to bring this into our bodies. And he sits with his legs crossed. If one of the goddesses would be doing it a little differently, because we really want the union of both these dimensions in us. And sits in union with him. So there's a union of the male-female elements. And there's an arrow and long life. It's just that arrow and long life symbolizes a long life, I guess. And they're wearing silks and precious jewels, adorned with tiger skins and ornaments of bone. So it's both very beautiful and primitive at the same time. So as you invoke this stuff, there's a primitiveness in you. And there's a vitalness simultaneously. Say yes if you understand that. And if you feel that, okay? It's not just clean. Delighting within the expanse of the garland of rainbow light rays. And originally, then one feels this union with the primordial beings as individuals. As individuals. So you start to feel an individualization of all this. There's a singularity. This is not just a mess of nothingness. It's all manifested in singularity, like in a kiss. Sub-individuation, singularity, huh? Say yes if you understand that. In the heart center, there's a tent of light. And in the center of the 5 point, there's a golden vajra, the golden light. And there's a luminous seed syllable, Hri, H-R-I, rosy white, encircled by many mantras, and for which light rays abundantly radiate from, just like extending the light again, just like we're doing here right now. and offering to all the victorious ones and bringing back blessings. So we're always extending what? We extend to our body, we extend to our ancestors, we extend to our friends, we extend to all our teachers, we extend to the different traditions we participate in, we extend to the different lineages, we extend to the different dimensions, Sambogakaya, God, the Dakinis, but all these extensions are manifestations of primordial light of awareness, of which we are. But it's not just coming out of our mind, right? Not just a mental projection. So all that appears is the deity, which this is saying that I am living in the archetypical dimension now, okay? And all the sounds are mantras, and all thoughts that are within are the very nature of being manifest itself. Even my worst thoughts are all manifestations of awareness. So in that way, I'm trying to open up. I'm unpacking everything. I'm cutting through everything to experience the power of awareness. And so in doing this, I'm dissolving the superego. Because when the superego sees this, it really gets anxious and nervous and condemns us to all sorts of unhappy places, right? Say yes if you're following this. Almost done. So becoming the play of the great bliss of immortal wisdom. So all this is the play of awareness. So I feel this play is manifesting in me and around me and in my companions. Za Siddha Phala Hong. I mean, you want the power and the company of these great yogi beings. In the great clear light of the deity appearances, without conceptualizing. So it means I'm having this experience now in the order of awareness, not in my mind. I'm experiencing this directly in a non-conceptual state. What does that mean? What does that mean? I'm experiencing this in a non... That means I'm knowing it directly. In the field, as the field. And gently resting in this expanse of the original purity, uncontrived, total pure. And once again, like the appearance of the rainbow in the sky, awakening in these mudras of body, speech, and mind. I feel this awakening taking place in my mouth, in my body, in my mind. Whatever power has been accumulated in the three realms, and here the word virtue actually means power. Because this has to do with powers, with the capacity of power, right? This capacity of extending the light, the expansion of being is power. Shakti means power. Qigong means power. Gong means power. The energy power, right? And we're blessed with a great Qigong master. So I dedicate, or I offer in the expanse this spheres, all this non-conceptual truth. And truth here doesn't mean the adequation of my intellect to the thing, my judgment. That's not what truth, like the Western truth. Truth means here, aletheia, means the revelation of what I'm actually experiencing in my body, here and now, right now. The originally pure nature is beyond my mind. That's why we're trying to go beyond our mind, even though I'm using words, hopefully in both dimensions right now. So that the great primordial wisdom is naturally, spontaneously accomplished. And so the clouds of various compassion activities manifest, and may the good fortune of great bliss prevail for all of us. Yep. So we're going to sit here for a moment, and we're honoring both Swami Muktananda, and so let's see where we're at right now. So where are you at? My mind's a little blank. Yes, Carol, where are you at? Good to have you here.
I just feel full, very, very full, full of laughter and full of the field. It feels, again, just deep, golden foreverness. I don't know. And also that, at the same time we're we're all part of that fabric. It's and also there's nothing. I mean, it's just, but a full nothing. I mean, it's, I don't know.
Thank you so much. Let's see. If I just walk around here. How are you doing?
Well, what's coming to me this morning is just how rich the weave of the energies are, and that our uniqueness isn't in our psychological stories, but in how the energy wants to flow through this beingness.
That's really helpful, isn't that? And we bring the narrative into embodiment, and we have to know the narrative, right? You want to know the narrative. But even like in trauma, as great people like Van der Kolk and others have pointed out, you want to know the narrative up to a point. You want to know the details of the narrative up to a point. But the great addictive component is the narrative. There's a Carrick effect. There's a Gestalt term from Gestalt days. It means the unfinished. And so the dilemma is the narrative itself. And it is true, there is a reworking that takes place and a retelling of the narrative. And a re-experiencing of the narrative, first in mind alone, then the narrative is experienced in the field of awareness, in the mysterious conjunctio, like we're holding here together with each other. And the narrative is told within the conjunctio, the mysterious conjunctio, whether it's a person or a group, or sometimes between a person and an archetypical manifestation, like Holy Mary that's helping them and hold this through, which you've all seen. But as it's told, then the narrative becomes thin. There's a certain thinning that takes place with the words, the memories. And there should be a natural forgetting. It's not like the initial foreclosure, which was a foreclosure, but the natural repression starts to take place around trauma. You with me? There's a big error people make here. And the thing is that it has to do with timing. And where that is, that's a really great question. But the thinning that takes place of the narrative within the field, there's a dissolving of the narrative itself. Not a dissolving of the truth, not a dissolving of the actuality, not a pretend, but the narrative thins. But as it starts to thin, there's an allegiance that comes up, both between the therapist and the narrator. And that is a collusion around the narration being the entire truth. And so it goes back over the narrative. Then the narrative becomes a repetition. And the narrative itself becomes re-invoking the trauma one more time. You with me? Reliving it, re-experiencing it. And then the identity becomes simply the identity of the trauma. You with me? And so one then, rather than freeing oneself from the negative identity, I don't mean dissolving that the trauma took place in you or me or whoever, but the negative identity of that being who I am solipsistically. And the family members or whoever the violators, perpetrators were. You with me? So there's a point where that has to be cut through and dissolved. As that word, that this is where this is forever, when you mention that word forever, there is a statement where you get beyond that. And there's a cutting through that and a dissolving of that aspect of my identity. It then becomes memory. It is no longer alive, and I no longer go back to it as a place of horrible refuge. Something is always better than nothing. And with most forms of torture, there's part of the game in torture. I hope you find this useful, what I'm saying right now. In most forms of torture, the torture is between being tortured and nothing. As one's regular life is being undercut, deconstructed, and destroyed by the cruelty of the narrative. You with me? Or the event of the narrative. The rest of our life gets foreclosed. That foreclosing undoes the anchors of our real life and real self. And so nothingness, again, all our internalizations and symbols, as they're becoming destroyed by the torture or the event, we then start being placed again with vacuous nothingness, or annihilation anxiety really is there, both from the torture or what I was is now destroyed. Raise your hands if you're following this narrative. You're following this? So it's very tricky here at this point, right, to free myself from the torture and the perpetrators, which then became the internalizations that actually paradoxically saved me from nothingness and torment me into nothingness. Very paradoxical. Tricky shit. However, if we're in the field together, and we're in this field, just what we've been playing with this morning, and the field has become a felt sense, or to use Winnicottian words, the self has come back into life, the vitalness, the aliveness, then I can start making the transfer from the sadomasochistic, redundant experience into the life force itself. You with me? You, as the therapist, plays a role in that. You are a companion to that person. There is a companionship, an intimacy that is actually direct and real. And that intimacy may last for a long time, even after you've completed the relationship in the symbolic form, but that is really powerful and useful. I hope you guys followed that just now, okay? But that is really part of this, and I see so many times people living forever and ever and ever and ever without being able to move past. And sometimes an addiction substitutes, becomes the companion in the traumatic event. So my addiction, which is a self-soothing function, has some bad consequences, now becomes soothing for me. This is not a moral issue. Please free your superegos from this. So the addiction then arises as a substitute for nothingness, for the annihilation, for the void. Okay, there's a little paper that I actually love on Lacan and Winnicott, and it's in the journal, and it's Lacan, Winnicott, and the void in light of Dzogchen. And you might want to read, that's this topic here. You guys following this right here? So it's really the trauma thing. Now sometimes what happens is then a life in a group can substitute and be very useful for this. And sometimes for some people, they have to have an ongoing group life, and that helps keep us alive. You with me? It is completely valid, because all this stuff, all this symbol is another group, if you wish, but it's another level of group life. So it's not one is necessarily better than the other. But in terms of being liberated, you know that people who have trauma, there will be an addictive quality arising in their life as a substitute for the annihilation that was there during the torture and death events that they almost went to. Raise your hands and say yes if you understand this. We'll keep moving right now, okay? Let's see. Welcome back, Marla. Haven't seen you in a while.
Yeah, thank you. It's great to be back. Yes, yes. It was a magical moment. It was the Baba Moon. That photo was in Croatia. Yeah. Yes.
Actually, the chocolate's from Slovenia. We went to places people don't go. Slovenia, Bosnia. But they're little jewels. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Beautiful places. Lovely people. Oh, Rudy, I just feel like that last piece went like right to my heart. Right to my heart because that's exactly where I am, is learning to trust that spaciousness and it not being the void of annihilation, but instead the refuge.
Just say that phrase one more time for us, please.
That I'm learning to trust the spaciousness and the light as home, rather than it being the void of annihilation. And I'm on the cusp.
Thank you. I'll make one more comment too. She's helping us further with this because many people who have awakened awareness and the light didn't take place because they met some holy person walking on the path who touched them. They fell over and suddenly the light burst forth. Forth. For some, it's true. For some, it's really true. Or even for those it's true, there may have been something before in their unfolding of the life where some form of trauma was there. And rather than the ordinary mind formulating, growing, that baby gnosis was more open than not, right? And so that more open than not, and some is a genetic thing, more open than not, that this was sustained more over time. You follow me? Because a lot of times people become white bread, to use that language, and they have a mindset that's Marita bread, white bread, and they become normalistic. They become normalistic? Normonic, that's the word. Who said that word? Great. Which guy? Christopher Bolus, thanks. Normonic. They become normonic. And a lot of the temptation in this world has become normonic. This is a very normonic thing. Everything is normonic now. And when you're normonic, the primordial awareness gets foreclosed because you're normal. Thank God, I'm normal. But for people that aren't mnemonic, then the gnosis remains open. And there's a lot of difficulties when you have perception that's so great and you don't have a proper protection, right? Then later on you start to learn how to work it. You with me? You guys fine? And we're going to probably go into that a bit more later on in this month again. I would like to go into it and redefine certain things we can call pathology. And I'm all for medication and things like that, but you really have to see this stuff in its existential form. And we'll look at certain forms of depression a little later as we're moving ahead. So we've been doing this to touch and review, because we often think of pathology in a normalistic frame, which actually misses what Marla was describing for all of us just now, which is humanness. Thank you so much. Pass the mic down to the next person. Good to see you. Oh, there you are. Great. Welcome back.
Thank you.
What's happening?
Mm.
I actually see you there. Yes, what's happening? You're getting something out of this?
Yes, very much.
Place we've been playing with?
Very much so, yes. It usually happens when I'm here, I fall into a kind of here, not here place, like a little bit of a trance.
Or sleep?
Or sleep, yeah. Sleep, or a bit of wake sleep.
There's a state called Turiya.
Yeah, Turiya state.
And
That's
Turiya
exactly
state,
what it is.
I'm going to interrupt because everybody doesn't necessarily have that experience. But the Turiya state is really a great state. I'm using language today. It's a great state. And the Turiya state is like being asleep and awake simultaneously. When you have the dawning of the Turiya state, it's also dawning to sleep at night in awareness, and you can have the practice of the night in Dzogchen terms. I should say this in the microphone. I'm sorry. So the Turiya state's really a great state, and it's a state of being both asleep and awake. It's sort of here but not here, but there's presence, but it's a presence that's asleep and awake. And Muktananda used to talk about it, and it's also Namkhe Norb and others speak about this in called the practice of the night. And the practice of the night means when you go to bed, you go to sleep in awareness. You go to sleep in the Turiya state. So you're both in the Turiya state so you're both asleep and awake simultaneously. And your wakefulness is right in the sleep. So you're awake in the sleep. You with me? Now that is considered numero uno if you're on the liberation track, right? These are people who are professionally liberated. You're like professional yogis. So this is a thing, okay? So they really want to have that practice of going to sleep in awareness, because the whole thing is to be in awareness, just like we're in awareness right now. We're in the awareness gym. They want to be awareness 24 hours a day when they're sleeping. So the Turiya state is a way of doing that. So when that starts to happen spontaneously for you, just like the same thing with that other thing, with the mouth, what do they call that again? The Nectarian, but it's that Kachari Mudra, or the palate opening. All those are now opening up at this realm where that's also indicated that you can then begin to sleep in the Turiya state at night. And so we take that gift and then we run with it. We also think this, when one of us has it, it's for all of us. At least I like to think that. You with me? So that's happening to her. It's also happening to me in my own way. So that means when we go to sleep, first we want to go into awareness. We may all want to extend. And then we go to sleep. Yes. Sorry to have interrupted you. It's really helpful. Turiya state.
Yes. And so I am aware of what you just spoke about in the most profound way, and it went in at a level that I want to assimilate. In other words, I want to. It went in, but not in my mind. It went in at I don't have the word, like a more subtle, maybe the archetypal realm place. It went in.
Called How to Read a Text.
Yes.
So there's the mind and there's awareness, or it's how to hear a talk.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're not so much listening with your mind, blah 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 blah.
Right.
You're actually experiencing it at the level of awareness,
Yes.
which means it's really there.
I hope so.
When we're in awareness, we never know what's going to happen, right?
Right.
So in awareness, you're taking this as a confidence that whatever that was said,
Mm-hmm.
you knew it, you owned it, and it's in you.
Mm-hmm.
And when you want, it can arise in you naturally. So we're going to practice this. We're just going to sit back. You're going to suspend your mind like we do. No, I'm sorry. You're going to suspend your mind, and you're just going to pause. I'm really glad you're here, and you're just going to pause. That pause is really what the suspension of awareness is. The episode in phenomenology. You're pausing, like you're gazing, and you're pausing now. And as you pause, we're all pausing. And then Carol was pausing before. She would pause, and then something would come up. She would pause, pausing our mind, and then we would see what arises. Maybe something arises or nothing arises. We don't care. We're free. We're just going to pause a moment, and we'll see what arises from within you.
What's arising is the image of a rainbow, and at some point today you were talking about each state slipping into another state. There's like no boundary in between. And I think the colors, like there's no real boundary between red and orange. It just, they slip into each other. And then orange slips into the yellow. Like they slip into each other. And my understanding, which used to be so things are this or that, is so much more one thing slipping into another thing. It's hard to describe this, but it's happening on an intellectual level as well as a like a subtle level in me. Things are just slipping in between.
I love how you're articulating this, the bimodalness of our mind, and I love how you're describing slipping into one level than another. It's almost like just to the moment of death, one step from the drama, we just slip into the unborn, undying state. And since you brought this, the rainbow light, and we'll talk about this wonderful person coming to talk here. I always like to do this ahead of time. Let's extend to him this morning. We're going to extend to the priest. We're going to extend to Father Tiso. This corresponding. We're going to extend to him right now. He's in Italy. He went to Tibet and also interviewed many people who were involved with people who had died in the rainbow body. And he got interested in this in terms of the incarnation. The Christian story of the Christ consciousness becoming light, and what this means, and the Gnostics' embodiment of light. And many of the early writings in Buddhism, it was emptiness and emptiness alone. Then through a little bliss, make the soup a little better. But the light came much later. Radiance. When the radiance arises, then you have creativity and creation, creating everything is light. We'll focus on this man again. We'll also focus on Mary Reed, who will be coming, supporting her. We'll also focus on Taisito, and we'll see him in Wappingers Falls. Really glad he's coming to see the monastery and what's taking place there. And he's supposed to be a master of past life. Thank you. We'll pass the microphone down to the next person. Everybody's enjoying themselves today. Having a great time. Good to see you. You look great.
You too. Thank you. So do you. So.
You can extend to me if you don't mind.
Okay.
If you want a little extension thing.
What's been happening, as always, evolves as people are speaking, and especially as you're speaking too. But I've been having this, like feeling that somebody is breathing on my head for about an hour. It's tickly, so it's almost distracting. But I've sort of experimented with whether or not it's like my hair is just lying in a strange way. It's not. It's just something is happening. It's tingling, and it feels like someone is either slightly pulling on my hair or breathing on me.
Can I make a comment about that?
Mm-hmm.
Let me pass the mic.
Okay.
I love our morning. We have a live morning this morning. When we enter the archetypical realm, many things take place because we're in it. Sometimes people see, but some of us feel, we're kinesthetic, and we can start feeling things. We start feeling our hair being touched, like that, especially people from certain traditions, like Bhagavan Nityananda would do that a lot. Touch people. Are you with me? You can feel this touch. And then also sometimes you feel this breath being breathed on you, like the Phenoma, the wind. But you can feel it coming very specifically. This breath, like the breathless breath, is being breathed on you. And it really feels like, what is going on? I remember I used to go, then I'd look around, became paranoid. But it happens. And then sometimes you actually feel this touch. They're calling now. Hello? And sometimes you feel the touch, and then you feel like it's the kinis, to use that language, are touching you, and they start writing. You feel these letters being written on your head, like they're, and it's almost like they're writing the mantras in you. So feeling that touch is really, really good. You with me? And feeling that breath is really good, the breathless breath. And then you can feel yourself entering into union with that breath, with that dimension. You with me?
Yeah. There's a lot of other. What you're saying makes perfect sense.
What are some other things that happen?
Well,
we do this because this is how we learn stuff. We really learn through each other talking about it, right?
it's interesting because it started just in that one place, but then lately when I've been meditating, I invoke Muktananda and Nityananda. And so what I've been experiencing is what happens when I do both. And it's so interesting because, and I've been testing this theory because of the tingles. But when I invoke Muktananda, I get this incredible golden light in my chest, in my heart. It's expansive and it's calming, and it feels so nice. And then when I invoke Nityananda, my head starts to go crazy, and I start to get. Every time I say his name in my mind, or I guess I'm through my awareness state, that sensation gets a lot stronger. So then I tried to say Muktananda instead and see if that happened, and it doesn't. It's definitely Nityananda. It's definitely on my head. And then I felt it sort of creep down, almost like there are butterflies on my forehead, and then it went down to my eyelashes, and my eyelashes started to feel like there was a butterfly on them, just on my left side of my head, which is weird. But what's cool is that when I invoke both of them at the same time, and I did this on Sunday at my mom's seminar, and it was crazy. I left my body. And I felt like they were pulling me out, which was weird because it wasn't like I was doing it. It was as if I was being pulled. But today I sort of did the same thing. And as you were talking about the process, and you were talking about smiling and then feeling powerful, I felt like I was anticipating what you were going to say, because before you said that, I started smiling a little bit, which I don't usually do. And then also you're talking about seeing and feeling, and I feel like I definitely do both, because I see it, but I also feel what's happening. So when I invoked both Nityananda and Muktananda, I felt like my heart opened up at the top and all this spaciousness coming forward, but it's almost like getting pulled out again. And then I felt like my heart became like a spring, like a babbling up and over. And then while that, all the tension or whatever I was holding in there started bubbling over, and then filling up like this canvas of almost like a painting, like except that it was just expansiveness. So it was just really cool. When I invoke them both at the same time, I get a much more cohesive experience.
It's a great phrase. It's like
Mhm.
really cohesive, and it's starting to remain with you.
Mm-hmm.
Make a little comment too. Sometimes you start to feel yourself being pulled out the body. That is great. That is not strictly a dissociative state. Okay, wanted to mention that to you because this is all embodiment, but there's a certain thing that opens up, and you feel yourself being pulled, and then you can actually enter the phase of what they call a skygoer. And Muktananda describes this. You'll see it in the Dzogchen text too, where you start feeling yourself soaring around the place. You with me? So it's not the regular dissociative, not here state, which is vulnerable. Dissociative states are very vulnerable states. So sometimes people are out of their body and in a dissociative state that is a very vulnerable place to be. Okay, in this state, if you feel that it's this archetypical opening, you're going to feel yourself in a protected way, that you're going to feel you're moving, but your whole body's moving, your whole body's soaring, and you're going to feel like you are the sphere, SPHURE, and that's fine. Just want to say, do not worry. Pass this on to Karen. Are you enjoying our little chat today? Welcome, Karen. Welcome back.
Hi. Thanks.
You're looking really good too with that.
Thank you.
Strong.
Thank you. I think what I want to say is, when I feel strong, I am extremely present in my body and expansive, and it's embracing the light all around me and within me. But I don't know why this is happening, but I'm noticing that if I get afraid or angry, the whole thing blows up. I get very fragile and small.
So you're learning to, first you've been integrating yourself in a very strong, embodied state, which is a bit new, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Now you're having to integrate strong feelings like fear and hate, right? And
Yeah.
you want to see fear. To do this, you want to think that fear is really, really good. I love having fear because it protects me. You with me? And fear also helps me know bad situations. So it's good to look at fear at times as really so wonderful. I mean, you don't have any fear, bad things are going to happen. I'll be going 130 miles an hour, and the cop catches me, I lose my license, I'm in very bad state, okay? So fear is good, okay, just for a few
Okay.
days.
Uh-huh.
And hatred is really good, because hatred, you feel all this fire and energy, and you want to consider hatred as being a practitioner of the Vajrakalaya, the dagger, the sword. You with me? Durje Drulo, a wrathful. Remember we had the wrathful?
Mm-hmm.
And wrathfulness in this tradition is really good because it's really good not to take shit. If you take shit, it will always affect you in some way or other. So you don't want to take shit. Why should you take shit? It's not good to take shit.
Right.
So you want to feel the power of wrathfulness. You with me?
Yeah.
You
No, yeah.
Durje Limpa, who we love a lot, he was the incarnation of Durje Drulo. Did you know that? The
Yes.
fierce guy. He was to beat up all his enemies.
Yes.
And when he was dying, all his little devotees said, "Can you come back again and not be so fierce?" He said, "Okay, I'll come back." So then he came back as Durje Rinpoche, who was very, very peaceful. And Durje Rinpoche says, "I think I'm too peaceful." Do you follow how we're talking? So
Mm-hmm.
this is really, so you really are embodying, your body's working with this, what you're doing. So you feel the strength, you feel the power, but you really are working now on feeling the power of fear. And you want to own fear. Because you really want to, it's really great to have fear. Right? It is. Fear gets a bad name in this world. You with me?
Yeah, it
I mean,
does.
and if you know, a totally fearless person, someone that has no fear at all, is probably going to be a psychopath. You do
Yeah.
know that, right?
Right.
No, I'm serious. People have no fear whatsoever. So you really want to have some fear, and also you want to feel the power of hatred. Which I'd like to think about. It's okay to feel the power of hatred as you're integrating it into this awareness.
Yeah. It's just crunching it up, like just making it meat, like grinding up the meat and just stick it in my body and just smear it on my face and eat it.
A little of that primitive
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. Drink the blood.
Drink the blood.
Yeah.
And smear it on your body like the big.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yes.
And then you're going to let us know what's happening to you with this, okay?
Okay, I will.
This is something we all have
Yeah.
Many of us try and deal with powerful affects by dissociation. You with me?
Mm-hmm.
And we try and dissociate it. You with me? And
Yeah.
we do dissociate it.
Yeah.
And then we're weak.
That's what I'm fighting
Nipple,
not to do.
and become weakies. You with me? And
Yeah.
everyone's afraid of this, and they pick on us, and it's not good. Okay?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
Next person. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. I'm glad to be back here. And was thinking about, I was out of town for a while and reading Brian Weiss's work about past life work. Yeah.
What are you experiencing today? We're not going to have a comment.
Yeah.
Where are you today? Right now, welcome back. What's happening now? In the present, in the moment.
A feeling very solid.
For a moment, what's it like to feel solid in the moment?
I'm
That pause. What's it like to feel solid?
I'm more aware of my body boundaries, but not in a walling off kind of a way, but just being present in a particular shape, a particular form.
But not vulnerable.
Right.
Let's just stay with that. Breeze. What's it like right now? Just to feel that you are. Pay attention.
I'm having trouble hearing what you're saying.
Okay.
Um,
That's okay. What's it like having trouble hearing what I'm saying?
I did hear that.
What's it like having trouble hearing what I'm saying?
Well, to hear, to hear, and to experience the vibrations of what your words are, brings me into connection.
Great. Let's stay with the connection, just feeling that connection. I'm really glad you're back. And I would like, if it's okay with you, for a few months, when we go around, that you're going to free yourself from commentary. You with me?
Uh-huh.
And you're going to free yourself from what's less. You're going to stay totally in the present.
Okay.
Would that be okay with you?
It would.
This would be really, what's like just to feel your openness and feeling the vibrations of the words in this moment and the connection.
Sounds good.
Great. That's what we're going to do.
Okay.
Thank you. Welcome back. One more person to comment. Then we're going to end up our little morning.
Well, I'm experiencing a lightheadedness, great light coming from my heart, and I feel as though I have an aura all around my body, and my body feels very light, and the Divine Mother is with me. She always is with me now. And I feel more and more strength in my core, in my heart. Yes, it's a relief. It's like the chatter. The mind and the chatter is being dissolved.
Dzogchen, as some of you said, the only thing you have to watch is one thing. Fixated states. I-X-A-D-E. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
What's it like to be free of a fixated state? Just at this moment.
It's peaceful and liberating. It makes me feel that my head is very light, and that I might start flying around the room.
Thank you so much. So we're going to start to end up today. Everybody enjoyed today. And I think next we'll start to work back to our more traditional format where I'm doing less of the thing. And I may ask you all to, maybe for a month or so, to pick out a companion who we'll do that next, who we work with here. You work with a companion, work in the group, or do some of the other stuff we're doing. But also, I may ask you to have some work on the phone with the person during the week. And where we're going to try some of this, the non-local thing like we see us doing here, and you can feel the power of a non-local work, but you're not doing problem solving, blah, blah, blah. You're not doing psychological work, blah, blah, blah. You're working archetypically. You with me? And or you're trying to work with a person to get to the place where they can enter the archetypal. Because as long as you're in your mind alone, the archetypes will never manifest. I once heard a Lama who was very, very Galupa form of Lama, who thought most of this stuff was decorations, not valuable. And any type of visual, anything you saw, apparitions, experiences of the energy wasn't valid, okay? This is a certain form does this. And when he was talking about dakinis, and someone would, have you ever seen a dakini? He said, no. Of course not. Because dakinis are forms of apparition. But sometimes if a person is in mind alone, they have to have some sort of work to stop the mind enough to pause the mind to enter into the realm that's directly present. Say yes if you understand what I'm talking about. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Jeff. See you guys next week. Hasta la vista. See you. And also, please put on your calendar to come on Friday morning when what's his name is here, the priest, talking on the body of light and all that thing, and the great book he wrote. And also, be sure to plan to come on Saturday. We don't have to do any of this, but really make some effort. And some people sometimes, the dates, or because if you guys do this, I'll do more of this, and if you don't do it, I won't do it because I don't have to do it, you know? So let me just see, because they're here anyway. Yeah, October, yeah. October 19th is he's here for 2 hours. That's Wednesday. Friday the 21st, he's here for the morning. And Saturday morning for Dakini Day, he's here, okay? He's here Sunday, yes, also. But Sunday's open. He'll be here at this place Sunday, but I'm open that up to everything, to everybody. Here I'm keeping this, I like closed. I'm a paranoid personality. I like keeping it closed, you know. So we're going to have it closed for Thursday, Friday, other than the people who typically come to Friday morning meditation. Because you bring a lot of people in, then the speaker has to play to people who are new, and then we go back to boredom. You with me? So, but I really want you guys to come, if at all possible. No, Saturdays for Dakini morning, for an hour and a half or 2 hours. Except, huh? What? Dakini start at 8 o'clock. All this will be the same. Friday morning, 7:30 the same. Dakini day the same, 8 o'clock. I'm not trying to change people's schedules around whatsoever. We can plug in. If you can't come physically, you can be online. But really, to have him here, I'd like him to feel the physicalness, because I'd like him to come back. And then I'm inviting other scholars. If Michael Egan's going to come, wrote the Psychotic Core, this great, great object, and so I'm now bringing more scholars in. Mary Reed is coming on the 23rd, the same day Tai Sito's, I think, going to be arriving in yeah. But I don't care. If some of you guys want to be there when Tai Sito comes, that you just go. You don't have to be here for Mary Reed's talk.
The Taisito won't be open to the general public the whole time. Most likely it'll just be on the 24th.
Okay.
Because he's really coming to help the new people.
Okay.
entering the retreat.
I'm glad you said that. Okay, because I didn't know for sure what that was, even if it's public. So I'm going to do this.
But all of that, Lama Jamdran's going to email us the exact.
Great. So we may wind up if we can leave on the 23rd and get there. That's what I will do. If not, I'll try and have Mary come earlier, or just don't come, or maybe she'll come just to the Wednesday thing. We'll work it out. Yes, Steve.
No, just CEU stuff.
Oh, CEUs. Yeah, here are CEUs. Here we are, organized as ever. Now remember, the official title of the seminar is Contributions of Phenomenology in Dzogchen. Phenomenology, not Dzogchen. I put that extra. And it's all in here. Here are your. I only give 20 because if I gave as many as you'd come, I'd become overt. It's not APA anymore. And actually, I could probably get approval for psychologists, but I don't want to. I'd like to be less known, the better. This is through social work. You won't be. It's not APA. It's not APA approved. No, sorry. Anybody else? Any other social workers? It's primarily for social workers. No, it's only we only give 20 here. Thank you, guys. Hasta la vista. See you later. Hi, Tom. Hi, guys. See you all. Hasta la vista. Take it easy.
What are they saying? Is you see Sylvia, right? What is he saying you can do?
I would do to help.